Hey guys, this is just another random update of what we're doing here on the new house. We actually got a electric fence for the dog, so that's really cool. It's a SportDOG brand. It's what we used for his collar, his remote collar now that we got from Sit at the local regional. They're ever expanding training center that we sent him to when we got him. That collar worked out really well. It's really rugged and tough. We left the remote out in the mud for days before we found it again, and it still worked. So we decided it's a little more expensive, but we decided to get the same brand, and it has it's the SportDOG, and I'll put a link to it in the description. It's the electric fence, and it actually has a clicker that works with it too. So it's the electric fence and the remote clicker, and it doesn't shock them. It's like that, like muscle stimulant, or just beeps. So it's kind of cool. It's a little more humane or whatever, if you want to call it that. And it's yeah, you can have the remote or the electric fence. And so I'll show you that in the unit in the basement in just a second. But right now, I'm going to show you the wire. We have it coming out of the house. It comes out of the house in the window right here, and then right into the ground. And we trenched this today. It's really hard to kind of see. You can see where we haven't quite stepped over it yet. Tamp it back down. So when it comes out, we just have to twist the wire. It comes out right in front of the chicken hotel, and it just pops right up out of there. And so then it starts to go that way and come right back in and twist it together back into the base to make that complete circuit. And so we have the whole wire run all the way around the house. It's pretty sweet. It runs all the way around the driveway on the other side. So it's really cool. The SportDOG pack we got, it includes 1,000 feet of wire, which is enough, I think they say, to do about, like, you know, an acre and a third or something like that. So I was able to do the entire thing, the entire yard with that, which is really nice. And so then it comes around to the barn right here, and in front of the barn and around and across the driveway down here, runs all the way around the yard, including the basketball area, so the dog can be playing with the kids while they're out playing basketball or soccer out here in front of the yard. So the SportDOG electric fence, it's really cool because I've never done electric fence or anything before. This is really cool because his boundary is right on the other side of the driveway here, which keeps him out from up in the barn where we don't really want him, and then our garden is right down here. Well, his line ends right here, so it's really cool how we can kind of pick and choose where it lets him roam and what he has access to, and keep him out of the garden, because that sometimes would really get annoying when we work in the garden in the old house with him. So yeah, it looks really nice. We've tested it out. It seems to be working. We're going to get Moose out here and really let him have at it. We'll put up the boundary markers and kind of train him on it. I'll show you in a minute the unit downstairs. We'll take a look at that and show you that. It's got some really cool features on it, and it seems to be really nice. I'm really excited to let him get out here and have a little bit of more yard and space to run, you know, wide open, especially playing with the kids. It's going to be great. But yeah, let's go take a look at that unit downstairs. So we're down here in the basement where we put the unit for the electric fence, SportDOG brand. It's a really nice unit. It's pretty big. I was kind of surprised at that. But we put a 2x8 onto this post here to mount it on. So we've got this mounted up here. And the wires come in, if you remember, they came in that window. So they come in the window there, and then I'll spray foam around there too. We gotta seal up everything a little better in the basement for mice and whatnot. The wire comes in here, and right now, it's dark down here. Right now it's just all janky. But the wire will come in here, and it'll come right up there, and right down to the unit. And we'll cut the excess off. So a pretty convenient location, and we might even run a ground. There's a section for a ground wire, and we may run a ground wire that same path out to the window and put in a ground rod there, just to protect it from if the lightning hits the ground, it can still surge in through this wire, not necessarily just through the power wire. So the unit, really cool. Real quick, you see these two lights, loop and power. Pretty cool feature, loop. means that it is got a good solid loop. So that loop is awesome to see right now, because I did notice when I was putting the flags around, something chewed the green wire out there on the ground before we buried it. So even though something chewed through it, it didn't break the loop, which is nice. But I love this feature. So when it loses the loop, it makes a chirping sound. So if whatever creature chewed through the wire, it would do this as well. And if it pulls out through here, it does this. So as you can see, that's like super annoying. So that noise we can hear upstairs, which is awesome. So we know, like, if you hear that, you know the loop is broken and the fence is not on at that point. So we know we need to get Moose back inside. We need to not let him out and address it before we let him out. So that's really great. So that way you know when it's off, and I love that. However, this is what I don't like about this unit. There is an on-off switch right there. An on-off switch. I don't really know why that needs to be on here. Because the problem is if you turn that off, I'll go ahead and turn this off, and you see the lights, they turn off. The fence is now no longer on, but I don't get a chirp noise. A million different things might flip that switch. I'd rather just be plugged in there, and the only way this is turning off is if you lose power, not a switch, because I don't know if that switch has been turned off. And it's not as obvious as the power being out or the plug being undone or whatever. So I'm not a really big fan of that. Next you have a switch for the range, and it's basically just high-low depending on how long the fence is. And then you have the stimulation and noise, and then just the noise for the collar. And that way for the collar, it's kind of weird, the instructions go over that. It needs to match, and if certain combinations it doesn't do certain things. It's kind of weird, but you just read the instructions and you make sure you set it right. But overall, I really like this unit. On this side there is a range dial. With that you can set how wide of a warning and stimulation range the wire puts out, basically. So if you crank it, you can't even get like 20 feet from the wire and it starts going off. And they say you want to make it like 6 to 10 feet from the wire, that it starts beeping and going through its process of stimulation. So that's really cool, and you can kind of mess with that to get it dialed in just how you want it. Either way, the unit's really great. I want to make a video like this. I like making videos on big purchases because I like watching videos before big purchases. I like doing my research, and there are some videos out there for the SportDOG electric fence that we got, but I also just, when I get into something new and it works out, I want to share a video just to add to that, help people find this stuff. But really good unit. I'm really glad we got it. I'm super excited about it. And at the very end of this video, we will have an actual review once we get our dog out here and really let you know how it actually works. But overall, so far, it really seems like a good unit. And it was like 400 some bucks, I think. So, you know, it's a pricey unit, so do your research, watch this video if you're considering it. And we're going to show you the collar now for it. So let's head on up and look at that. So the first thing about this collar is it's a little different than the other SportDOG collars, or at least the one we had. And it's huge. This thing's like a brick. It says it's for dogs 10 pounds and up, but like, if I was a 10-pound dog, I would not want to be wearing this thing, because it is very noticeably bigger than the other one we had that just has the remote clicker. But it's got a screen on it and some more adjustments, so it is definitely more involved. And when you turn it on, but you'll have some information on the battery and the intensity of the stimulation. So like on a remote, you can control the intensity of the stimulation from the remote, and this will control it from the house, from the wireless unit. And then you have a house icon and a dog icon, and the house means it's the wireless fence will be on and working. The dog means it's the remote. So if you want to be able to use the remote and have the wireless fence going, you need them both. But it's really nice. It's solid, and we had SportDOG before. We left the remote. We lost the remote and left it out in the rain and the mud for a week or so before we found it, and it still works. Finally now some of the buttons are starting to give out, though it still works. But we got the SportDOG thing, like I said, through the training that Moose did. That was our first one, and we really liked it, so that's why we went with SportDOG here for the electric fence, because it's a pretty good quality product. But that's just basically the unit installed, how we ran it, and kind of the collar and remote setup. Remember, the link is in the product description to the unit on Amazon. And yeah, if you decide to get one, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you're as happy with the install as we were. It was pretty easy and painless. And yeah, let's see how the dog does on it. So before we put the dog on it, we're going to go ahead and bury it a little bit. And we just used a shovel. Simply just kind of step on it a little bit and just wiggle it back and forth. I mean, we're only opening up a very small little trench. It's not deep, it's not wide, just enough for Lakin to come behind and push that wire down in. And then we just kind of walked over it to close it back up. But I only want it to be like an inch or two below the ground, so not to lose the effectiveness. And then we went ahead and put the dog on it here, and Moose is enjoying hanging out with Junior. And he hits the fence a little bit right there and just kind of comes back. He's used to that stimulus collar, so he understands what it means already. And then he kind of eventually found his little spot in the yard where he hangs out a lot, right there on the basketball court, soaking in the sun. Yep, it's a good system. The dog responds well to it. Definite good buy. Glad we did it. Thanks for watching, guys.